There we go. Okay.
Oh, and we're starting. Hello. Um, Final six.
Yeah.
Um, what is there to really say? Uh,
Faven was evicted.
no, Jackson was evicted.
Jackson was evicted.
Uh-huh.
Well, Faven was also evicted.
Faven was also and in other news, Mads was evicted as well.
Yeah. These are all true statements.
Um, okay, recapping what happened in this week, so we're all on the same page. This is for you all, not for us. Jason was the HOH. He nominated Luke and Jackson. Luke won the veto, Emily was the replacement, and Jackson went home by a vote of 3-0. So now that we're all on the same page,
Hmm.
I think we just dive right in. There's no overarching statements I have other than like everything that we've been saying for weeks is catching up with people
So
right
kind
now.
of just like a bland week, honestly. Like nothing like really happened.
It was a bland week, but this is the week of karma. I'm like, this is what happens when
Yeah,
you
but
play
nothing
the
like
podcast.
exciting.
I'd argue that Luke winning the veto was exciting. That was not a locked thing by any means, and it
Hmm.
was a good comp. Anywho, up on top for the first time since. Wait, go back, go back, go back, go back
Oh,
to
sorry, sorry.
up on top for the first time since week two is Jason. Um, we'll be talking about this a lot. I have a feeling in the weeks to come, but Jason is going to be a juggernaut in these comps, and it's going to be a hard person to take out, and has a good game to support it. I think he is going to be tough to beat here. Luke tied though. For that top score, Luke's I think played the best game, but the failure to take out Jason, um, up to this point, and I think it's gonna be hard to do so moving forward. Followed by Joe, Kayla, Jackson, Emily, Faven. Faven has been evicted as we've covered, and
Yes.
we are jumping into the final six.
Woo! All right.
Wait, before we. Oh no no no! Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Let's do this first.
All right.
Um, Emily.
Oh,
Um, yeah. For the most part, I think we can keep this short and simple for a lot of these things, so they don't have a ton new to say. Emily is someone that I just think has not had a chance to win for a while and hasn't done anything new to really increase that chance to get people to say like, "Oh, Emily's a really good contender." Um, I think she's got her people. She's going to stick with them, and they're going to keep her around so long as it benefits them. One thing about this week though is like I feel like her own paranoia and her own gameplay is going to get in the way of her. Like she on paper should be in the final two chairs.
mhm.
People would be crazy not to bring her. You know what I mean? But I feel like her own paranoia and gameplay is going to get in the way of that. And personally, I would be surprised to see her in the final two chairs. I don't know if that's a hot take, but like, I just think that this week her campaign to stay was so like insane, where it's like, bro, you're gonna blow up everyone's games unintentionally. Where it's like she is talking to people, and Kayla and Luke are being a little cagey with one another in terms of like who they want to save. They're both on the same page about saving Emily. However, they don't really like say it to each other because people don't really give a lot of info this season, which is fine, I guess. But then like Emily will talk to Kayla, and Kayla's like, "Okay, I'm keeping you. I think Luke's gonna be on the same page. I'm gonna talk to him about it and like get him on board. I haven't expressed to Luke yet that I'm keeping you, but like I'm gonna talk to him. You should be good." And then Emily immediately goes to Luke and is like, "Okay, Luke, just so you know, Kayla's going to talk to you about how she thinks you should keep me because we've been talking and she really wants to keep me. And like she said, she hasn't talked to you about it yet. She hasn't revealed it, but she's going to. And I'm like, why are we saying that? Let it happen in due time." Um, Anywho, all that to say is I think her own paranoia is going to get in the way. I low-key was considering going down to a 3. Um, and high-key am gonna do that.
Interesting.
So that's where I'm at. I'm at a 3. I was considering a 4 again, but like I don't know. I just feel like her odds are so low. She was on the block this week and didn't like play it the best. It was really close.
I'm gonna stay at my 4. Um, well, I do think that she's probably, we'll talk about it when we go forward. Probably has the least chance of winning the game. I'm starting to personally, mm, I think if it's between herself and Kayla, it's not locked. So with that, I mean, she's made it this far into the final 5 after this week. She was on the block. So I'm just gonna stick with my 4 for this week. Because I think that being in the final 5 in a season where we said a while ago that everyone left is pretty much actively doing stuff. I think that's points for her. And I think that if she was in the final 2 with Kayla, it's not locked, in my opinion. But we'll see.
I agree with you that it's not locked. Um, and I agree with you that them two being the final 2 isn't an impossible scenario in the slightest.
Yeah.
I do think that if like they are the final 2, I think Luke votes for Kayla. I think Jason votes for Kayla. I think out of like spite,
Alex doesn't vote for Emmy.
Joe, Alex, and Faven all vote for Kayla. Um, Fletcher, I think, probably votes for Emmy. Um, Isabel's a question mark. So like Caroline's a question mark. Caroline probably votes for Emily, actually. So it's definitely split. I do think Kayla still walks away with it, but I agree. I agree.
Jackson.
Jackson. Okay. I've said it for weeks. I won't harp down on it too much, but I am gonna harp on it a lot. I I don't get it. I don't get it, Jackson. The whole like starting the pre-jury, he wasn't really in groups. Week 2 to 3 was like, okay, it's time to make the alliances for the season. I'm like, Jackson, that part's already happened. You missed it, but welcome. He then started to get himself in some trouble by like wanting to make alliances that cross between Fletcher and Caden and the Alex PB Snap side and the middle people, and it was like all over the place. He then, through the information he was given in the game and what he saw happening, was able to make good reads on like who to tell things to and whatnot. But then because he realized that there were all these different groups, he all of a sudden just kept all information to himself, had all the good reads in the world, but didn't do anything with any of the information that he got, to the point that even when he finally landed on the block, and it was on the nomination block against a non-threat pawn, Emily, that no one has any reason to get rid of, he still sat on the information and was like, well, I don't want Luke going back to Joe with this. So I'm like, King, what was the plan? Hope to stay? He just sat on the information the whole time. And even like at the very last minute, he was like, okay, I'm going to use this. And then even then, he was like, hey, Emily, the person on the block next to me, Luke might be working with Joe a little bit. I'm like, okay, okay. Um, I was considering it too, but I don't know. I just feel like there was so much he could have done and did none of it. He easily could have stayed this week. He should have stayed this week. People have been talking about taking out Emmy. I am at a 1. I'm sorry, Jackson. Love you, King, but this just ain't it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw him a 2. Um, it was so sad because I feel like there was so much like potential all season, and it just never like was shown. Like it just never came out to anything, which is really upsetting. I think as a my kind of philosophy with ones and twos and people getting evicted is like usually at this far into the season, I don't usually give ones out, like just because it's like you got this far and you didn't do absolutely nothing. But yeah, like you like I just don't understand. We saw so much from you that other people didn't see because you didn't take it out of your diary room, which is really
And as
upsetting.
much as I appreciate being in the alliance with you, I already had all the information because I'm seeing everything happen. So
So I'm gonna give him a two. I love Jackson, so that's why I'm gonna be a little biased. 1.5. Womp womp. Damn.
yeah.
Okay. Jason.
Um, I'm tripling down on the analogy. If he doesn't win, he goes home. It is Grace Vader. I will say, of course, it's not like a one-to-one
Sure.
thing because at least what we saw with Grace is like she didn't win some of the time and she was able to wiggle her way out with some crazy plays and secret connections and things. Whereas, like, if moving forward into the final five and beyond, if Jason loses ever, I do think that Luke, Kayla, and Emily are so tight that it's clean cut and dry. There's nothing anyone else could do. He will just go home. So, like, on that front, I understand why, like, the Grace Vader thing doesn't work, but we haven't seen him in that position yet. So I'm not dying on the analogy yet. Um, but I do think that he has to win out to make it to the end. But this week, I mean, we saw him win BB Comics, which we said was like a good telltale sign of like how you're gonna do with some of these ending Google side comps. He won the HOH this week. Um, and I think is far and away, granted, and I have it in my notes, that like saying this, but like granted, like we have a bit more context and evidence now, like is far and away the most prepared for the end game in terms of these comps, experience playing them, just being ready for it. He's going to be a hard person to beat, especially because if he gets to the end, don't get me wrong, the comps is impressive for sure. Um, but I don't think that anyone should win a season of Big Brother just because they won comps. But Jason wouldn't be doing that because they've had the Inner Circle Alliance, but they've also had the alliance with Emily, Caroline, and Chloe that he didn't say anything about. And then he also had the secret duo with Kayla, like for most of the game, which he didn't say anything about. And he found the secret power veto, which no one else did. And he's done a lot to really put himself in this great position. And now they're really turning it on with comp wins because they've got to like back up the rest. So I don't if he wins, he deserves it. Personally, there's one person that I would like to see more, and we've been pretty clear about who that is at this point in the game. But I'm not knocking his chances, and I think they've played a great game. So I'm gonna go up to a 9 this week. I think this was a great move for him. They got out someone that I think was great for them to take out of the game. I'm going up to a 9.
Yeah, I'm willing to hop on board with the this was our mindset about Grace when we were ranking. I think I'm just like talking about Grace so much is making me realize like why have we not like communicated with her about like coming back? Like I love Grace. I'm realizing now. Like honestly one of our strongest winners I would say. Um but I'm not willing to say that like his gameplay this season is like what Grace's was like. I agree in the sense of like if he doesn't win he's going home and that's exactly what we thought about Grace. But the thing is like I don't see him not winning a competition. Like I don't see him moving forward. It's I mean
We'll
I think
see. Final four is dicey, and granted, again, like we know not to spoil, um, because I don't know. Technically, I don't know who's watching this video that maybe doesn't know what happens in the game, but all I'll say is this: is like the final five veto and the final four veto are two very different skill sets. even still. But granted, we saw how he did in BB Comics, so it's like I do agree that it'll be tough to take him out.
I just like, and I feel like I've been feeling this way the past few seasons. It's like I feel like the last competitions have been so predictable recently, as opposed to like in earlier eras. Um, but that being said, like if he's able to comp out and win based off of his strategic gameplay, so be it. Good for him. Because I think that's something that's really likely that can happen. Um, I just wouldn't want his only like him only relying on this. And I think that's what was different about Grace is that when she didn't win, she had her really great social strategic gameplay to back it up. I'm not saying that he doesn't have that, but I just don't see a world where if he doesn't win, he's not going home. Um, I'm not sure if we're gonna get to that though. But I mean, there's a great chance he wins a comp every week until the end of the season. And if he gets to the end, he's probably going to be winning. So I'm going to go up to a 9 as well for Jason.
As an overall 9.
Okay. Well, I don't like the two dashed red colors being. That's fine, I guess. Okay. Joe.
So, Joe is tricky for me. I totally agree with everything we've been saying. Joe has really turned it around in these last couple of weeks since specifically, and I'll say it again, since Alex has left. Um he's been able to like clearly play his own game and what's been better for his game. Um which has been great. Heading into this week, he said that Jackson is the person he wanted out most. And I think if the noms stayed Jackson and Luke, I think Jackson still would have gone home because I think Joe wasn't gonna just give Jason what he wanted. I think Jackson still would not have like campaigned. Um, and I think Kayla and Emily are way closer to Luke than they are to Jackson. Um, with that being said, though, my only worry for Joe is that like Jackson is the one piece on the board that is open to not just like riding with that one side, where it's like I feel like Luke and Emily are very locked in with one another against the other side. And although Kayla's in the middle, is definitely more locked in with Emily and Luke to go against Jason and Joe. Whereas I feel like Jackson would have been someone to go against Luke in the future. Maybe if Jackson decided to put action to his words. Um, and my only worry is that with Jackson going, that Joe fills the Jackson spot where it's like for either side, we can't get out the main target. Joe's going to be the one that goes. And with the competition records that we've seen of the main targets, I don't think it's unlikely. And again, we know a little bit of what's to come. Don't think it's unlikely that he gets screwed here. And it's not something that we haven't seen coming for a while. We've been saying that this final five, final four is going to be probably his biggest hurdle to overcome. So for me, I just don't think that Jackson going here was smart. I think he's trusting in Kayla a little too much. I think he's trusting in Luke a little too much. Um, that's kind of how I see it. I am gonna lower my score to a 6 for Joe. I still feel good about him. Definitely a green score, but um, yeah. So I'm moving from a 7 to a 6.
I was at the 8. Let me go back to the screen. I think that this week, I don't know, in my mind after Jackson went, it was I mean, I would have thought that it was definitely going to be either himself or Luke winning the HOH competition. Um, and to be honest, like I don't know if I really saw Luke doing that this week.
Wait, well, hold on, hold on. We're not talking about the final five. So,
I know.
okay. Continue.
I don't know if coming out of last week I really saw him doing that this week. I honestly thought Luke was gonna take him a little farther than that.
Really, I don't know. I just feel like this whole game has been very clear that like Luke is like Jason's the number one issue. But if we're not gonna get Jason out, I'm not cutting Emmy or Kayla. Like,
I think Joe has been like ex- has shown to be extremely loyal to Luke, and I think Luke would beat him in the end. So I don't know. I coming out of last week, I agree in the sense that he's not in as the same position as we've been talking about in the last few weeks. So I was at the I'm going down to a 7 for Joe. And yeah, I guess I won't spoil anything that's coming up tonight. But
alrighty.
what a
That
crazy season it's been
$6.5
for Joe. Okay.
for Joe. Yeah, truly, what a crazy season,
Crazy line. All right, Caleb.
Kayla. Um, Kayla is starting to lose the steam that I feel like she really gained.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's lost any of the social capital. Because here's the thing: Kayla is, in my opinion, still the person that is in the best position in the game. Oh, I feel like she's currently in the best position. She's got. I think if people had to like say who their number ones were, I think Luke's number one is Kayla. I think Jason's number one is Kayla. I think Joe's number two is Kayla. And Joe's intended final two is Kayla. Um, and I think Emily's number two is Kayla next to Luke. So like she's in a fantastic spot. No one plans on taking her out. I think everyone sees her as a beat at the end. Um, which for a while I was like, don't underestimate her. Um, the only thing I'll say about Kayla is she has all of this amazing social capital. And while I do feel like what's happening is like benefiting her, um, which is great. Like I think what's happening is good for her. I wish it was like the thing that we're not seeing from Kayla is like her being in her dining room of being like, okay, I've got these three duos. This week, Luke's gonna win HOH. Great. He wants to take out Jason and Faven. Awesome. Of the two, I want Faven out because I'm close with Jason. And then Jason's gonna win. He's gonna take a shot back. Great. I don't want Luke out because I'm with him. I want Jackson out. We're just not seeing that active agency, and we're seeing a lot more of like the, oh yeah, like this could work. I just wish she has all of the pieces to clearly make a path to the end for herself to be like, I want these big shots taken and push these huge comp beasts that she's aligned with in Jason, in Luke, in Joe, etc., and specifically target them towards one another to then benefit from their moves and be like, I sat in the shadows but knew what was going on the whole time. I feel like instead she's played very passively, and the end game here, starting at like the final seven, final six, really was the time to pick that up, and we're just not seeing it from her. Is where I stand with that. Um, so with all that being said, I am sticking with what I have in my notes, which is a 6. I'm gonna stay at the 6 for Caleb, but it's a 6 that is quickly losing steam, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was out of the green sports for her next week if she doesn't just. I just need to see something more active from her. She's in a great spot, and that doesn't take anything away from what she's done. I just need to see her actively want something.
Yeah, I'm continuing to be more and more like sorry, like unimpressed from Kayla. I really did value the amount of social relationships that she was collecting throughout the game, but it's just like not going anywhere. Like there are no specific strategic moves being led by Kayla. And I don't think I think she's gonna be in the final two. I think she's gonna be that Ashley, that Jackie, that Kate Carvelis who should have won. Um I think that I'm at a 5 this week.
And
5.
to her credit, I do think that she has played better than
Yeah, I would say that.
Ashley and Jackie.
Definitely Ashley and
Maybe
Jackie.
not Kate. Maybe I put Kate above her still, but
Um but we'll see. Okay. Luke, finish it off.
Luke finishing it off. Yeah. I mean, it's very clear that the narrative of this season, since the final seven, and I think moving forward, the narrative of the end game is going to be Jason versus Luke and who comes out on top. I truthfully, and maybe I'll be eating my words later, don't see a world where one of them does not win the game. And it
Yeah.
is a matter of who takes the other one out first.
It's
And I
just
think it's
gonna
going to be a
come down to
struggle
the
for both
competition.
because I think Jason is leading the charge in comp wins, but Luke is leading it in social game. If Jason loses, they're done. They're going home. If Luke loses, he's still got Kayla, who I think wants to keep him. He's still got Emily, who I think wants to
Yeah.
keep him. Luke has done a great job at minimizing his threat level. You know what I mean? Which is great for him. Um, his biggest hurdle is going to be winning the final four or five. Taking out Jason. Taking out Jason is the biggest hurdle. And he knows he needs to. And these comps are going to be hard. But like he's got to win a comp where he can just cut Jason.
Yeah.
Not impossible. Not impossible. But not easy. So I'm gonna be moving up to a 9 for Luke this week as well.
Yeah, I'm going back up to my 9. Or were we at a 9 before?
No, we moved down to an 8.
But the week before we were at 9, so sure.
Yeah. Um,
So back up to a 9 for me. I My ideal would be Luke winning the season.
I agree.
I'd be happy with Jason winning the season, but I think Luke has just played better.
Luke hasn't had to rely on comps, whereas Jason has.
Exactly. But I'd still be happy with Jason winning.
And
But
and to be clear, hasn't had to rely on comps as much. Luke has still won a veto or two that really have saved his ass, and that is absolutely part of the game, but has also not been in danger as much compared to Jason and things.
oh my god, I hate that these lines are intersecting. I hate that. Okay.
Alrighty. Before we move on, we are at the final five. I would like to take a quick flashback. Um, fun new slide in the rankings.
Blah blah blah.
Whoa, let's take
I
a
knew
revisit of this.
I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
I hope she wins not just to spite you. Honestly, I would take
And
it.
listen, Emily, if you win this season, kudos to you, and I will eat all of my words. I will eat them all. Um, but and listen, even if Emily does win the season, on paper, when we did the draft, I said the only person on your team that I wish was on mine that was in my top 8 was, everyone say it with me, Emily. So thank you. I'll accept my flowers now. I don't know which of my team members will win, but I'm hoping and thinking that it will be one of them. And if it's Emily, congrats, girl. I'll look like an idiot. And I
Okay.
deserve
Any
that.
other final comments before I stop the video? I should have just stopped the video.
That would have been a power move. No further comments. Final five coming up.
Final
Eviction very soon. We know pretty much what's going on there. And this final four is one of the more crucial final fours, I think. I can't think of like what was the last time that like heading into, and we'll talk about this more. We'll answer this in the next rankings. Heading into a final four, I can't remember the last time that it was more crucial in terms of like there are two major players left.
Um,
13, actually, maybe,
yeah,
maybe last season,
last season.
but not that are going against each other.
And
Two major players that were going against one another directly.
I mean, usually if you have two major players in the final four, they're traditionally going against each other, I would say.
But like Eric and
Like
Morgan weren't.
like Maeve and Sean. Like
Mm,
they both wanted each other out because they had to get the other one out to win.
yeah, that's fair. Maven Shawn is a good example.
Haley and Grace.
Yeah, that's another good example. I mean, at that point, it was more like Haley and Kate,
Kristen
in
and
all honesty.
Anthony. Kristen Anthony.
But one of them was HOH, no?
In the
No.
in the final four?
Was Vic HOH? No,
No.
Anthony was HOH, and
Anthony
Vic
was
had to make the decision. Oh my God, that was a nightmare.
yeah. That was he
Every
that
time I think that
I feel bad because that like literally cost him the entire game.
it cost the entire season's legacy.
Why?
That one moment of Victoria asking to flip a coin, whether to
No, no, no. I'm
Haley
talking
or
about the final
Kristen.
four. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the final four, yeah.
And her being like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my, like, talk about how to
I'm gonna
taint a
stop this.
season
Bye.
101.